Hello and welcome back to the Veritas Detailing Realtalk podcast. If you're watching the video, you see that we're still in northern Italy in the mountains with surprisingly good weather for November.
Fantastic.
It's really fantastic. It's not too cold. But as soon as the sun goes behind those mountains there, it will get cold really quickly.
Really fast.
We experienced that yesterday. So in the last episode, we talked about the supposedly existing ceramic coating revolution, which brought us in some respect to the next topic, which is why the question of what's the best product is such an horrendously stupid one.
Yeah, it's a never-ending story.
It's a never-ending story, honestly. And I want to give you one thing from the get-go from this podcast. This is not a personal insult to you if you have ever asked this question. It's not personal.
No.
But we will try to explain in a factual manner why the question is not good from the get-go, why it doesn't lead to anything good, and what it creates in the market also. My voice is starting to get away.
I am lucky that you have lead in this role. I am being saved a little bit with the voice, I have to be honest. I'm not saying I can sing an opera right now, but...
I can hardly imagine you with singing the opera anyhow, so... but maybe that's a hidden talent from you.
I can't sing.
Good. So let's give you some sort of context and a little bit of backstory where this topic comes from. I am very, I would say, active in English-speaking Facebook groups. You have seen that. Yeah, you're laughing. I'm very active there, and I try to be as helpful as possible. And that's why I see this question of what's the best soap, what's the best snow foam, what's the best spray sealant, what's the best coating popping up times and times again. So that's one side of the story. The other side, more current side of the story, is Pan, the organizer, a few weeks ago released his own product line. And in the presentation of that product line, he repeatedly said his own products are the best in the market, period. And I'm quoting now, the best in the market, period. And we will talk a little bit about why this sentence already is very problematic, in our opinion. But it leads us to the topic of this podcast. So, Reggie, why is this question so monumentally stupid?
Because we are in a dynamic industry where everything changes every week.
That's a very nice way of putting it. But
Today is November 2024. The things that we are going to say today are going to be obsolete and wrong and completely mistaken in 5 years.
So, okay, that's already one very important aspect of why this question is so stupid.
Yeah.
Or let's be a bit friendlier. You see, we're trying to develop here in this podcast. We let's put it friendly. Let's say this question is misplaced.
Yeah.
I still think it's stupid, to be honest, but let's call it misplaced. So there's a time component of things. If there would be such a thing as the best product right now, it probably would be outdated in a year's time.
Yeah.
Or maybe weeks in the worst case scenario. So there's a time component, because let's think back 10 years. What was, or could you imagine, a best soap, a best car shampoo 10 years ago? I could.
Tell me.
Meguiar's Gold Class.
Oh, Gold Class.
The golden one, the big bottle, the jelly one. Probably 10, 15, maybe even 15 years ago. I could go behind that. In today's market, no, absolutely fucking not. No.
Look at the difference with the amount of brands 15 years ago.
Exactly.
The presence, the popularity of the detailing industry, the rise of the brands. I mean, I've never seen so many brands pop up in 1 year than in the history of mankind.
True. If you think 20 years back, there was Meguiar's, Turtle Wax, 3M, Sonax, and that's pretty much almost it. Almost. Maybe some Simonis was also there, but if you look at how much variance there is in today's market with brands and products, so there obviously already is a time component to this question, which does not necessarily explain why it's a stupid question, because a question also is time dependent. If I ask what's the best product, I obviously mean the best product today.
Yeah, relevant.
So that's a fair point.
True.
So already a time component to it. But there's also additional components to these questions which make it very, very hard to answer. And there is always the thing of what does best actually mean? What does it actually mean, and what does it mean to the person asking the question?
That is the definition. What is the best? If you are used to nothing, then you will be very impressed with anything that is available right now. If you have been changing and trying products for 10 years, it's going to be difficult to become impressed.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's going to be difficult or more difficult, challenging to become impressed by something very, very, very new. And then the speed of the development and evolution of certain products it's not for nothing that this industry has been in the top 10 in the last 10 years of the 10 most rising industries in the world. Detailing industry, top 10 for 10 years straight.
And then even if you go further into it, a good counter question to a person asking for what's the best spray sealant is always what's the best car?
Yeah, what's the best car?
What's the best car?
What's the best laptop?
Absolutely impossible to answer. What's the best car?
No.
Depends on your situation and your needs and what you want and expect from a car.
You need to understand a couple of rules before you start looking for a project. If you fix a rule for yourself, I'm going to spend maximum this. I'm not going to let me be blown away by anything being said, but I'm going to fix my price. I'm willing to pay $40 for a soap.
Alright, that's already a very good starting point. Price. Because the best product in some categories will depend on price. So if you give us a maximum price threshold, that already helps a lot. But also not really. What's the best car for 50K still is a wide field. So you would need to tell us what it is that you want to do with the car. Are you looking for a family saloon? Are you looking for a sports car? Are you looking for electric or internal combustion engine?
Yeah.
There's so much to it already from the car, and it's exactly the same with car care products. Let's stick with what's asked often, a polishing machine. What's the best polisher? We need to find out what is the type of the operation that you want. Is it a rotary, a dual action, or a forced rotation?
And you need to know how to polish first, of course.
Of course, that's obviously very good. Then backing plate size. Do you want one machine? Do you want to have separate? Do you want it corded or cordless? How much does it need to cost? How much do you want it to use? Because based on that, there's more the professional ones which will last longer than the cheaper ones. And stuff like that. And if we go to protective products, how long do you want it to last? How much do you want to pay? Does it need to be slick? Does it need to be glossy? However, we already talked in an episode about gloss, and that gloss mainly comes from polishing and not protective products. Do you want it to be hydrophobic? Do you want it to smell good?
Easy.
Do you want it to be easy and quick to apply? How much effort are you willing to put into this? And that would be in a monumental way, such a better question. I am looking for a protective product which I can spray on and wipe off the car, which costs me 20 to 30 pounds a bottle. I don't care much about the scent, and I want it to be available in the US. Fantastic question.
Good one. You're all halfway there.
There still are, realistically, 20 to 30 products which will suit into that, but it already is a much, much better question. And at the end of the day, that's, for me, my main gripe with this question. What it signals to me is that the person asking it was not able or willing to spend 30 minutes of research. 30 minutes of research is all it takes to find out what's important with an LSP or a last stage protection product. What's important with a polisher, what's important with a car shampoo. Just asking for what's the best thing is an extremely lazy way of asking a question.
Yeah, and sometimes you maybe just already, you have a subconsciously already made up your mind. and you're just looking for someone that's going to
Oh,
agree
good
with that
point.
subconscious, and somebody's going to say, yeah, this product is amazing, and blah, blah, and you see, I already knew this, so I'm going to buy this.
That's a very good point. It's maybe confirmation bias. So people are looking for confirmation that the product they bought is good, or they're not sure about it and are looking for confirmation that it is not a good idea that they bought it. Very, very good point, actually. So it's just laziness. It gives me the impression that the person asking the question is trying to replace their time with my time because my time is less valuable.
Let's sit back and relax and see what the people see about my question. What is the best car shampoo?
Take
some popcorn and read the comments.
But then again, that's a personal thing. That's how I feel when someone asks this question. Let's take it back a notch and go into objective versus subjective or emotional product characteristics, because that's also a thing we have to talk about with this question. The best product for me is not necessarily the best product for you.
Definitely.
Because based on facts, it would probably be possible that we agree on a set of best or good products within a certain or given category.
Yep.
Based on emotional aspects, we probably won't agree.
True.
Because you like different smells than I do.
Yeah.
You like different labels and designs and bottles than I do.
Yeah. Plus, I don't give I don't care very much about these things. I care about how the product works. They can give it to me in a glass jar, and I will still be. If it's a very good product, I will still use it.
And you see, I care a lot about those things because I think it shows that a brand which gives us a nice scent, a nice design, a nice bottle, a nice sprayer, gives a fuck about their product.
That is also true.
As consumers.
That is absolutely true.
So that's already very, very difficult, this differentiation between what's objectively good or best or what's subjectively good or bad.
Yes, and that subjective is also about the slickness of a product, the gloss of a product, that subjectiveness. From my opinion, if the sentence starts with that, then it is true.
You're making an extremely good point. Is let's stick with slickness first. Is slickness subjective? There probably is a scientific way of measuring slickness. There has to be.
Yes, with a tribumeter.
With a tribumeter, good, which probably is very expensive and very hard to understand and hard to run.
Good choice.
I could also come up with some sort of testing method where I apply a protective product on a surface. I place a microfiber towel on it. I put a weight on that, and I then try to tug it along the surface. And depending on how much force or weight I have to put in there, the product is slicker or not slicker. So there is a way of measuring slickness. However, realistically, what every one of us will do is put our hands on a surface, feel it, and say, that's slick. And this sentence, that's slick, will depend so heavily on our experience, how many other products we have tried, and what we feel is slick or not slick. It would also depend on our skin, how our skin is set up. It will depend on, do I have greasy hands or not? So it is very subjective. And that's already with slickness. Let's talk about gloss. Gloss can be measured with gloss meters. We talked about that in one of the first episodes. However, that's not necessarily what people mean when they say that looks glossy. They talk about reflections. They talk about a darkening effect or a shedding effect. That's not necessarily what gloss means scientifically.
No, that's what that gloss meter is for, to give you that idea. And then I saw, that's very good that you say that, because that gloss meter does indeed measure the gloss from a certain angle with a measurement in the name of a gloss unit, but it does not measure the amount of haze. And I realized that
not every meter, yeah.
Last year, DetailingSchool came out with a new device that also measures the haze, because you can then have a glossy surface and a hazy surface, and they made it something like this. And today, Don, thanks again for sending the pic about the picture of the DetailingSchool that is now being presented at SEMA with its 2900. So
oof, that's expensive.
Marco, something for Christmas for the factory? I don't know. You know.
Yeah, good idea. So as you can already see, there's almost to any product criteria we can think of. There's an objective side to it, there's a subjective side to it, and that already makes it difficult, even if you come up with some characteristics. So asking for the best, glossiest quick detailer is still a fucking tough question to answer. Because what does that exactly mean? Because realistically, you would have to tell that person gloss comes from polishing and not from the quick detailer. But am I doing him or her a service by telling him or her that?
I cannot answer these questions, and I stay out of these discussions.
You do. I do not.
I wave to the people, and which product do you like? And they name the product and said, very good. That's very good. If you are happy, are you happy? Yes, you are happy. That's good.
That's the more intelligent and more diplomatic way of treating it. Yeah, I'm trying to be more Arnold Schwarzenegger about it. Yeah, I think you already see and you already understand that it is extremely tough to answer that question.
Yes.
And then there's also the aspect of what those questions are doing to the industry.
Who can you trust? Who can you trust? Can you trust somebody because he says that he has experience? Can you trust somebody because he works for a company? Can you trust because he sleeps in silk and is accustomed to the silkiness of silk? That if he says that is a slick surface, that you can assume that this guy knows what slickness is?
Exactly, because it brings us back to the example that we brought up at the beginning of this podcast. Can you trust any influencer who says or names a video, the best quick detailers? Is this a trustworthy person? That you will have to decide for yourself, but then you have to watch the video and see how did he came up with the ranking? What actually did he test? Did he do any testing at all? Or is it just personal preference?
Who's number one digitally showing on screen with cameras that he's doing testing? Pops, the first name that pops in your head.
What do you mean by number
product
one?
Testing.
Reach?
The one that you just, the number one that pops in your head about the guy that really
which
does
I
testing.
Think is doing proper testing.
Yeah.
Forensic Detailing Channel.
Yeah. John DeLow for the people watching.
And I always forget the name. Sandro from Australia. Oh dear God, I always forget his name because the channel has such a long name. Sandro from Australia. If I can think of the name, he does really, really extensive and proper testing.
Very good. Very good.
Something with car care, auto detailing. If I can come up with the name, I'm sorry, Sandra, I forgot it. Those two guys, mainly.
Yeah, that's. I like to look at John's videos about testing. I like the way he extensifies the test and shows his vision. It's at least nice and videotaped. It's very nice. And for the rest, anybody that says anything.
Carcraft auto detailing.
Auto detailing.
And obviously me.
Yes, Sebastian. Sebastian also does good testing.
Sebastian and me from DetailingSchool, but yeah, let's exclude those. Yeah. So why did you ask?
Because the rest I always see. We tested this product. If you test the product, that means you have found the limitations and you have found the performance, and you know what it could and cannot do. You have confirmed what is said on the bottle is actually true.
That's one of the most important aspects, I think, which many testers forget about.
Yeah, because the rest is just trying the product.
and they
it's just trying.
Even worse, some just blindly repeat what the manufacturers say without even thinking about what it means.
Yeah, that's
best example, I always bring that up. Repeating when a manufacturer says you can apply this product on top of another protective product. It creates gloss and slickness, but it does not affect the hydrophobic properties of the first one. That's physically and chemically not possible. And blindly repeating that and calling yourself a tester doesn't add up. That just doesn't add up.
No, of course, we've talked about testing many times. I've told you many times how I'm doing some form of testing. That gives us indicators.
Yep.
That have nothing to do with real life.
Yep.
Something to do that I can do in an environment and repeat a certain process to see scratch reduction, stuff like that, chemical resistance. Very easy to do in a very confined space and everything. But real life testing has nothing to do with these things because those chemicals that I use during those stress tests are not what we find on the road and are in the water on the road.
True.
That's completely different.
True.
We are talking about a detergent that I'm using and not a brake fluid or a cooling fluid mixed with water. Spray it onto the surface, let it cook in the sun, and then start rinsing off.
Do you remember the message I sent you, you guys sent me beta test samples of your new or updated wet coat.
Yeah.
The spray and rinse product.
Yeah.
Can you remember the message I sent you?
Do you remember everything? This was like a book. Let it be said. It was like Lord of the Rings episode 1. And this was just testing for one version. I'm so happy I didn't send him 3 versions to try out, because it would be an absolute... I told Marco, I said, do we want to read? And he says, what do you mean do we want to read? Is it long? I said, is it long? It is pretty long. And Marco says, just summarize.
To my defense, I was driving with my girlfriend because she had a dog tournament in Belgium. We were having an 8-hour drive, and I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I had time. Yeah. And I thought, I finally have time. Let's type my feedback to that product to Reggy.
Very extensive, very grateful, very much well appreciated.
I think that is what you refer to with proper testing.
That is proper testing. Yes, we need to know what it can do. We give you an idea what it should be able to do. If we state something that you can disprove in the first initial testing, then we have to revise what we are doing. Because if I say to you something like this, and then you start moving with your expertise and say, okay, what if I do this? And what if I do this? Because you know maybe a couple of other wet coat type of products that have the same performance types application, so you can then very easily see what the differences are.
Yeah, and to make it short, Reggy and Labo sent me a sample of that spray and rinse sealant. You wanted mainly to try me how it behaves when you leave it on for too long, or maybe when it bakes in the sun. What I did is test it on protected and unprotected surfaces, and also with
detail.
Different protective products on there. So ceramic coatings, different ceramic coatings, different spray sealants, waxes, and so on, just to see how it behaves. And I actually found some interesting differences how it behaves.
Yeah, you were very happy about the removability. The removability, that was very, we did definitely agree on the bonding of an existing very well performing protection, and then wanting to put on a wet coat that is not going to add very much, because there's not much to add on apparently.
Yep.
That is a big difference with the other version that had more easy linking to anything existing, and but that was also incoherent with the unforgiveness of the product if the abuse, I'm not even going to say misuse, but this was literally abuse of this product, that can create some problems that even an I forgive you technology is not able to remove. Stated. Raden, if you're watching, that's you. That was you. That's your example. The 750 milliliters of Beneficia Pure walking around in direct sunlight, and then say, it was legend.
I mean, you bring up a very good point, which maybe is important for anyone new to detailing who listens to this podcast to understand. Every single product out there, not only in the detailing space, but especially in the detailing space, when you talk about chemicals, every single product out there is compromised.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. If we talk about cleaners, it's always a compromise between forgiveness and safety for materials and safety for users, and cleaning power. Yeah. There's always
power,
that a single product is perfect at cleaning and safe. When we talk about protective products, it's always a compromise between maximum durability and ease of use or quickness of use. Yeah. Always. It's physically and chemically not possible to bring those two aspects together. And that you have to understand when you're asking for the best product. I mean, the really frustrating thing for me is if anyone asks about this question and I get to talk with the guys, sometimes we get to talk in personal messages, I always ask them, tell me another hobby or field of activity you're in. And then he tells me, for example, weapons or skiing or snowboarding. And then I ask him, okay, good, you're into snowboarding. Tell me the best snowboard. Oh, well, I cannot really do this. It depends on... See, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, you find another field and you will find...
exactly the same.
Never find common ground on certain...
Every single product is compromised. And that's what you have to understand. That's what makes it so difficult to answer this question. And to build on what we said in the beginning, what it does to the industry is influencers trying to give you an idea of what the best product is. And that's why we elaborated so much on testing and proper testing, because depending on how you test, you will come up with different rankings of best products. And what it also does to the industry is other stupid things. And now we can talk about Pan the organizer. Pan was and has been a tester, an independent tester for years. He has been doing this for many, many years. He has the biggest channel right now, 1.04 million subscribers. And now he comes up with his own brand, which is not bad in any way, shape or form. However, building a reputation of being an independent and reliable tester and source for detailing, now bringing your own brand and claiming in the first video that your products now are the best in the market, period, is problematic to say the least. And then follow that up with a video with your best products of 24, what he does every year, and giving the first place to his own product created a huge backlash, which made the Cerakote disaster look like a child's birthday.
True. Yeah, that is actually true.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about Cerakote anymore. That's one thing for sure.
And that is what this question of what's the best creates. Other people also behaving stupidly, because that's... And Pan, please, if you listen to this podcast, maybe he does. I really, really wish he does. We are not hating on you, but that move was just because you, Pan, he reacted to criticism. He got a lot of criticism for that. He reacted by saying, all of the other brands do it, and can you name me one brand which says my products are second or third best? No, I cannot name you a brand, because I don't know of any brand which claims publicly that their products are the best. I cannot come up with a single one.
I'm thinking. I have an error. I can't think of nothing.
Me neither. Secondly, those are brands. You expect that from brands. A brand, per definition, has to do marketing, even if they don't. You are not a brand. You are a tester. You build a reputation for being a tester, and you repeatedly say you are a tester, you are independent, you can be trusted. And that's the difference here. You built up this reputation of being a tester, and now you are trying to compare yourself with all the other brands. You are not like the other brands. That's when I think you misused the trust of your viewers by saying, my products are the best.
8 months of testing is, nobody knows this, nobody has any idea how much time I spent, but how much time I spent on testing, I swear to God, I've been away 9 months this year, almost 9 months of the entire year. I've worked 30% more hours, and I've actually done, digitally have done less, I would say. Thanks to these meetings, we have a lot of digital content, but by myself, I've done so much testing. And then when I say 8 months of testing, we took 7 years for a glass cleaner. We are now on the way with Beneficia for more than a year already. We had version 2.21, 2.23 at last count. We are still not satisfied. So I imagine pumping a brand in 8 months from nothing.
Yep.
My God.
Yep.
My God.
And that, even if we put all that aside, because there is a way of accelerated testing. If you're specialized in testing, you can maybe do it quicker. That's all possible. But saying, and I quote, best in the market, period, when I know for a fact that he has not tried every single product that's out there in the world, that's already another problematic thing.
That is, of course, an awesome amazing. I understand, because if you want to be sold, you have to say these things. If you want a
no, you don't have to.
Yeah, but if you want your people to see your video, you are going to say, is this the best product of 2024? That question for SEO is mandatory to get views for your video. So that is already one. Of course, you will say that your own products are the best.
So you say those are clickbait titles.
It's everything is to generate views.
I get that. Yes. Okay.
They would rather say something that sounds nice than the exact truth, or that makes even that. And it's very, for me, it's very difficult to lie. I swear to God, my conscience is eating me alive. Even I cannot even lie to my mom. I could not sleep at night to lie to my mom. But these things, to say these things without so many people backing this up, or
because that's the point. I mean, you test a lot of products, and you also test a lot of products from around the world, because Labocosmetica is present in a lot of countries. Yes. I also try to get my hands on many products, which costs me a shitload of money to get all the American hype products. But I know for a fact that I don't have everything that's available in Japan and Korea. And those two countries alone, I know for a fact, have absolutely amazing brands which do amazing things chemically.
Yeah, yes,
and that's why I would never go ahead and
Katiba.
say that the one spray sealant I personally found to be the best right now is the best in the world, period, because I know I haven't tried everything.
No, there is stuff, that's for... We are the king of detergents, they say, in Asia, that is, and especially Korea. Nobody can match that, but for us to push a product like Beneficia and Vitax, for them is, they are used to something much, much more.
Yep.
Much, much easier, much, much more.
Yep.
Much less effort, and their understanding of the bead is almost like a martial art. Like somebody takes care of a bonsai flower, bonsai tree, so a Korean guy will take care of the beads on his car.
Yep.
And these products
then
do...
again, I already know without having tested them that maybe it would come out that they are amazing at creating hydrophobic effects, but maybe these products are not as safe as others, or they use ingredients which American brands cannot use,
for
or
example,
are forbidden in Europe.
Or available at least.
Or available. And
yeah.
therefore you can also not say those products are the best. And I think you now understand what our issue is with the question of what is the best. It is a stupid question from the get-go. It cannot be answered properly. And it creates, let's say, problematic behavior in the market.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's the thing you have to understand. So please, please try to answer more intelligent questions. Please.
Yeah,
because
ask very ask other questions. Ask
and
different
I'm talking
questions.
to you now because I know you ask this question, because in the future, every time I see this question popping up, I will link to this episode of the podcast. So I know you have listened. Please, please ask a more intelligent question. You are allowed to write me a personal message asking for what are the relevant product criteria, and I can give you them. And then you can ask a better question. Because that's funny, I usually get a lot of personal messages based on the stuff I already do in the groups. And I always tell them, please ask your question in the group. Because I don't want to offer personal consultation services for free. I want you to ask the question in the group so that everyone can benefit from the answers. And that we can have a discussion, because I don't know everything.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
I'm not correct with everything.
Agreed.
So that's why I usually ask everyone to ask a question in the group. But I can help you coming up with the relevant product criteria so you are able to ask a better question if you are too lazy to invest 30 minutes of your life trying to find those criteria, because the information is out there. It's out there. It's easily found.
It's on your fingertips, literally, on the thumb, on the edges of your thumb. Please, you don't have to do anything. You just have to tap some glass, and somehow this information keeps popping up in your face.
And please don't tell me you're not in other fields where you have already experienced it. If you're into snowboards, you know that there are snowboards for the piste and for powder. Different lengths, different widths, different shapes, different weights. That's already a field. Then if you're into weapons, red dot sights, there's not a best red dot sight because there's different quality levels. There's something like eye box, there's something like eye relief, there's something like open emitter, closed emitter. Every field has its thing.
It is something
special.
All
we asked you is invest 30 minutes.
Yes. Be critical, and that you spend the time. It's your money. You know, if you have to spend one time some money on a shampoo and it gets you satisfied immediately.
Because usually, there's the lizard again on the wall there.
Oh, nice.
We are in northern Italy. It's warm, so we still have lizards here. What happens usually if someone asks the question of what's the best shampoo, he gets 101 different product names from 99 different people. That's what happens. And that already tells you that the question itself is stupid. That alone tells you that the question is stupid. Because everyone will just throw random product recommendations at you without knowing what you're actually looking for.
True.
Good. That was quite a ramble.
That's a good one.
That was quite a ramble, but it was an important one because that's actually something I think no one has ever talked about in that extensive in an extensive
And also
way.
a discussion where you will never find Mr. Reggie Cox himself. I will probably be too busy testing other products.
You will know what, Reggie? I will challenge you.
But be wary.
After this podcast, I will post a question of what's the best X in the Labocosmetica group.
Because I'm almost at that point that it maybe becomes time that I also need to do some product reviews, and then a la how I test the products, and I will put them next to each other. I can even disclose some videos online. I will not say which competitors they are, but I can show you some very interesting differences.
Let's see. So, good. I think we have rambled enough. Write us your opinion about this whole topic in the comments. We're very interested to hear that.
And if you know the best shampoo, please write it in the comments.
Yes, please. You will get blocked and kicked out forever. If you listen to the podcast, thanks very much for listening. If you have watched the video, thanks very much for watching. And I see you, and Reggie sees you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.